So in today's session, we have three presenters. First of all, Peter Eriksson has kindly joined us from Grundfos. So he is a systems consultant at Grundfos. Myself is Navdeep Singla. I am one of the architects here at On-Device Solutions, and I'm joined by Murli Adula from our team, and he is a fellow architect and a director here at On-Device Solutions. So we'll be covering various slides where Murli will be pitching in as and when if there is anything technical we need his help with. So without further ado, I will move on to the agenda we're going to cover in today's session. So the agenda is we will briefly introduce you to On-Device Solutions, who we are, what we do, and what we specialize in. Then we will move on to Peter, who will walk you through with their experience of using Work Manager and working with us, and the various projects they have been doing on Work Manager. And after that, we will cover some of the considerations around Work Manager upgrade in general. So we will explain around the various things you need to keep in mind and what are the options you have. And then we will also cover a very interesting topic, which is a roadmap for mobile asset management from SAP, just so that you get the complete picture is what's happening beyond Work Manager at SAP. In the end, we will just introduce you briefly to the two offerings we have around performance management and upgrades, and then we will hopefully have around 15 minutes of time for the Q&A at the end. Now, briefly about us. So we are On-Device Solutions. We are a company based out of the UK, and we specialize in SAP-based field services as well as mobile asset management solutions. So that's an area we specialize in. Now we are an SAP partner, both build as well as services area, and we provide the whole spectrum of services related to enterprise mobility. So all the way from enterprise mobility strategy definition that covers various aspects, all the way from business objectives to the actual technologies and standards for development. And then we also support in terms of deployment of packaged applications like Work Manager, Inventory Manager, Service Manager, and others. And we have our own packaged applications as well, which we deploy. Then we move to the custom build, which is in case the standard application does not meet your requirements, we can custom build as well. And then we obviously cover Fury and personas and other aspects. Now, some of the key things to notice here is that we have a very strong background in terms of Work Manager, because we, the three founders of On-Device Solutions, worked on one of the biggest programs in the UK and worldwide, National Grid, in 2009, 10, and 11, when they deployed Work Manager to cover their gas distribution business. So we three were there. I was actually a Cyclo employee at that time, and we were instrumental in delivering the biggest SAP implementation for SAP Work Manager. So that's how the seed was sown for On-Device Solution, and we three then set on to set up On-Device Solutions after that. So the point I'm trying to make is we got long history with Cyclo and SAP Work Manager and the agentry technology. And those of you who know and who have worked with Work Manager understand the complexity around making an application work offline. It just adds so many layers of complexity in terms of the back-end integration with delta detection, with the front-end technology, which is a metadata-driven, and the middleware being in Java. So that's why we felt this is a niche area which not many people unfortunately are specialized in. So we set on to specialize in this area and offer services in this offline capable mobile applications. Now we are pretty much still a startup. So we are, as you can see, still around like 30 to 40 people strong company, nothing as compared to Accenture, TCS, Wipros, and others. But we are good at what we do, that is mobile asset management and field services for SAP. And as a startup, we have been part of Innovation Birmingham Incubator Program with Barclays, and we have recently been accepted into Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program. So with that, I will hand over to Peter, who has very kindly agreed to walk us through their experience of working with Work Manager and the various projects they have undertaken, including the upgrade. Over to you, Peter.
Oh, thank you. So my name is Peter Eriksen, and I'm the solution architect with Grundfos, and I'm the solution architect that covers the service area, meaning this is all the IT solutions that we use to support our after-sales business. And a little bit about Grundfos. We produce pumps. We are widespread on different markets. We are especially strong on circulators, heatings, and also on wastewater. I think that we are the biggest pump producer or the manufacturer in the world, and typically per year we will produce something around 16 to 17 million pumps. Grundfos is represented in more than 80 companies in around 55 to 60 countries. And we actually use SAP as the backend in more or less our complete business in all areas. We have some subtitles that we have purchased that are not running SAP yet, but all the main companies are running SAP. Totally, we are around 1,500 people around the world, and we have a turnover about 3.2 billion euro. If we look at the service business, then we can actually see, that slide, that this is one of the growing market areas for Grundfos. I think previously we have been driven a lot by sales, but we now enter the world of service. And for the last 8 years, we have been building up a very big or very strong service business that built both on internal employees, but also dedicated service partners. And we are represented in more or less all the companies where we have a sales company. We also have a service company. And we are using actually SAP CS as the backend for our service business. And right now we can say that we are around 44 companies or countries that do run SAP CS. We run on one SAP system. One step back. We schedule around 1,100 technicians in our planner board and have around 100,000 orders per year. One of the requirements that we had was that we like to have a mobile solution. First of all, we are actually using the full suite of SAP CS. So that means that anything from workshop, cluster repairs, field service, we use SAP Everest for scheduling. We have web solutions against our service partner. And one of the things that we could do to optimize our service business a bit more was to have a mobile solution to support our service technicians. And at the time when we actually entered the world of mobile solution, SAP, we actually had a look at Cyclo. And actually at that time, SAP also purchased Cyclo. So it made our decision a bit easier. Since we were already a big SAP customer, then it seems like a good idea also to utilize the Cyclo part of SAP. So we have actually been on a journey with the mobile solutions ever since. I think the first project we run was in 2013, where we implemented Work Manager 5.3. And we have been on a journey where we have been on an upgrade to SMP 2.3. We were on Work Manager 6.0, and also now that we are running on SMP 3.0 and on Work Manager 6.4. Next slide. I would say the whole world of mobile solution has been quite a journey for us, and we have had a lot of learnings when it comes to mobile solution. And as you told before, the whole synchronization part is one big area where you need really to be on your details. If you're strictly working with online solutions, then of course if data is not there or you have an error, then you are stopped immediately. But if you are working offline, then you need to have some really good synchronization mechanisms in order to have a good solution. One of the things that we actually think was strong with the cycler solution was actually the capability to do synchronization with offline data. And I will also say that we actually feel that the whole solution through the whole journey has actually been quite a strong solution. We have not had that many issues with lost data. We have not had that many issues with the mobile server not running. As you can see on some of the pictures we have attached, we then have a bit of a customized solution, especially on the UI part. We have not been too happy with what was provided with SAP. So when you look at functionalities, we are using pretty much a lot of standard functionalities with a bit of development, but on the UI part we have actually chosen to create our own UI to be much more optimized and fits better on a tablet PC and also to work on the iOS platform. Next slide. Yeah. So when we actually started the project with on-device was back in 2017, where we actually had a project where we wanted to upgrade from SMP 2.3 to SMP 3.0. SMP 2.3 was at that time an outdated platform, and actually we had some problems with support. So last year, around March, we actually got the budget to actually do the upgrade, and at the same time also go to the new platform for Work Manager 6.0. And basically we contacted SAP as we usually do when we need consultants for projects like that. And actually, it was actually SAP who actually pointed to actually contact on-device to get some good consultants. Our project was at that time in the first round to get a one-to-one migration and some existing bugs fixed. There was some bugs in with the 2.3 and Work Manager 6.0 solution that needed to be solved, and at the same time do the upgrade. The setup that we got with on-device was actually quite good for us. We got a setup with a consultant in the UK and one in India. And that was actually supporting us pretty good, meaning that in the morning we could have some early meetings with consultants in India, and also then in the evening we could continue with consultants in UK. Also, when it comes to the budget, it also showed that this was actually an okay setup. There was different prices on the consultants, so budget-wise, it was also an okay solution for us. We started up with a one-week on-site meeting with the UK consultant, where we updated about the project, how our Work Manager solution was working, and also how our SAP CS solution was working. And from there, we actually was working abroad. We scheduled meetings, sometimes daily, sometimes weekly, depending on what should be delivered. And then I would actually say the project actually went quite smooth. We finished up in around June, not only with the SMP migration, but also we had time to fix some or add some additional functions. Among others, we did a Google Map integration. We created an internal node setup, so back office and technician could exchange internal nodes that was not visible for the customer. We activated attachments, so we could share a picture both ways. Both technician could take a picture and send to the back office, but also back office could attach a picture and send to the technician. We made a filter on activity types, and also we incorporated an issue we had with the existing solution, that it didn't take time zones into considerations. And this project actually also run okay smooth. But as soon as we then started to end the project, when it comes to mobile solutions, one of your concerns is always performance and how the system is performing. One thing that we actually noticed with the earlier solutions was that as soon as we start to get many technicians on or many users on the mobile solution, then performance will go down. And actually, we had a daily transmit time from 5 to over 2 to 5 minutes, and sometimes we actually experience much longer transmit times. So basically, what we agreed with the consultants from On-Device was that we set down a performance team, and it actually ended up with that I took my computer and went to Birmingham just before Christmas to put a bit focus on this. And I was really happy with the solution that we got. I think that we got really good consultancy here. One of the co-founders, Murali, joined the project, and he had a huge knowledge not only in the work manager setup, but also in the back end of SAP. And basically, with that week, I think that we accomplished a lot. So we now have an overall performance with transmit time on daily basis that are less than 30 seconds. And this is something that all the users really enjoy. As soon as we then reached New Year, we then got some extra funding. We now had the mobile solution running on Windows only. We had some restriction before where internally we could only use Windows devices. So we have tried a lot of different Windows devices. But actually what the business wanted was to run on iOS devices, either an iPad or an iPhone. And we actually was allowed, due to some changes in our IT structure, to actually start utilizing iOS products. And that gave us the opportunity to now migrate the complete platform that we have to actually both support Windows, iPad, and iPhone. And again, we continue with the consultants that we already had from On-Device. We had a good cooperation. We already had a team up and running, so it make no sense to actually switch partner here. And actually, with less than 3 months, we actually got the whole iOS platform up and running. And we are now supporting all the 3 platforms and are now ready to our rollouts. One of the things that I'm actually quite surprised that they actually, happy also that they actually solved, was that we are working with some internal service reports where we use Adobe Interactive Forms in order for the technicians to actually fill in these forms after the visit. And Adobe Interactive Forms is as now not supported on iOS. So this gave us a huge challenge when we want to use this on an iOS platform, because we have invested a lot of money in these forms, and if, for example, we could not use this on iOS, then maybe we have to change how these service reports should look. And that was one of the things that On-Device managed to actually solve within the project and also within the scope, to actually get these service reports working on our iOS platform with Adobe Interactive Forms. So we have been very happy with this, and we are looking forward now to start our next project, which will be about health and safety, to secure the safety of the technicians, and also a lone worker app running together with our work manager, so we can again secure that if a technician is working in confined spaces, then somebody will be watching over his shoulder in case of any accident. Yeah. So basically, from our side, some lessons learned is that we had a lot of good knowledge with the mobile team. All the consultants, both Anselm, Anup, and Murali, have delivered really to above our expectations. One of the things I think was really good working in then is that they're actually proactive, actually suggesting and understanding our needs, something we actually earlier could face a bit issues with when working with earlier consultants. As soon as you, for example, had some request that was out of the normal work manager set up, then at sometimes we actually feel that earlier we had some issues with that, but as that was not the problem with On-Device. As soon as we told them, okay, we don't like this functionality, or how can we optimize that, they were really, really fast at coming up with suggestions. And another thing I also think was really good was that they for new functionalities, they built it up in their own system, so the 1 week later could actually show me that functionality, not wasting time sitting in our system. So that also makes sure that we actually could take decision based on the correct foundation. So basically, we can say also that they covered all our requirements to the platform, not just setting up standards. We got good prices also, which I think from a project point of view is also nice that you can run with this setup, that you have consultants in India and consultants in UK. And then I also have to say it has been all the time I spent with the consultants also been very friendly and nice to work with consultants. So all in all, I would say we had some really, really good lessons with the project, and we are happy to continue with the project with them.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks a lot for the kind words. That obviously it's been a pleasure working with you. So I will move on to the third part of the agenda, which is more about understanding the various considerations for an upgrade of Work Manager. And for that, it is pretty important to understand the overall building blocks in the architecture of Work Manager. So the first thing, if you go from right to left, is a mobile device. Like it could be Windows, it could be iOS. Within that could be a form factor of a smartphone, or it could be a tablet. Now that will also have both the hardware, that is, and also the OS version, like iOS releases a new version, a major one every year. Because that is linked with the agentry client, which will be installed on the mobile device. So we need to first go from there to the device to understand what is a supported agentry client. Now agentry client then interacts with the agentry server, which is SAP mobile platform, which is now available both on-premise as well as on the cloud. So you need to make sure these two versions match with each other and they can talk to each other. And then there is an SAP backend wherein all the SAP logic is sitting, and there is an add-on from SAP for Work Manager which goes in there. So you need to make sure all these things and the versions are aligned with each other. Now once the basic platform is there, you have to put in an application which is Work Manager. And similarly, there are other applications like Inventory Manager, CRM Service Manager, and even these days you can deploy OData-based applications on SAP mobile platforms. The platform is the same. So we deploy the Work Manager application in all three layers. So metadata goes in here, the Java component runs in here at runtime, and then the ABAP in the backend. Then obviously, like any other client, you need to make some customizations beyond the configuration you have to make. So those customizations can be in any of the layers, like in the backend ABAP, in the middleware Java, or the front-end metadata. And then since last 2-3 years, SAP also allowed native local device extension using OpenUI. So you may have built a component in a native iOS, which you want to obviously upgrade as you upgrade the rest of the solution. So those are these blue. And the idea here is just to show how many moving components are there when you do an upgrade and how closely related they can be with each other. Now, one thing you need to decide is, like when you do an upgrade, whether you're doing a platform upgrade only or a platform and application upgrade. Now, we always advise to do an application upgrade, but that obviously includes extra effort. And depending on how customized the solution is, there is a decision to be made, like what do you want to do for your particular situation. Then we also need to consider all the customizations done to the solution for specific scenario. So if there are obviously more customization, that's more effort. So we need to do that analysis to understand like what the number of customizations are and are they following the enhancement framework or not. Then we need to keep in mind all the new features, as some of the customizations you may have done are now standard solution features in Work Manager. So that is useful to understand and look at the roadmap and the release notes. And obviously we'll cover the roadmap in the slides later on to see like where SAP is investing and what the support framework is for the Work Manager. So that's good to understand when you make your decision. For many customers, like switching a mobile solution from one to another is quite challenging because that involves field workers and the applications are installed offline. So you can't like switch overnight like an online only browser based application. You have to really plan out how you roll out the new version. So there are some important considerations there, like how you make sure the two applications versions are running in parallel. Then obviously you need to keep in mind whether the devices you have currently, are they still supported by the new SMP platform. So for example, if you got old Windows 32 devices, they are no longer supported. So you need to pretty much review the device strategy as well if your devices are pretty old and they need to be looked at as part of this upgrade. And then there are some minor considerations as well in terms of you need to deploy digital certificates, and as SMP now got enhanced security, and you need to have a database in the server as well, which wasn't used to be a requirement for pure agentry server. And obviously with the work manager now being available in the cloud and on-premise, that's another decision factor when you look at your upgrade and your data center strategies. So these are all the things, and this is not a complete list. These are some of the key highlights you need to keep in mind when you upgrade your SAP Work Manager or other applications. Just to give you a flavor of what is involved, we have taken a typical scenario of the back-end add-on, and obviously the similar sort of patterns exist for the front-end and middleware as well, like how you upgrade that. But if you just stick to the ABAP, so what we do is we look at all the classes which are related to the SAP Work Manager package, and how many of those are the standard classes which are being used because they are easy to upgrade. Then we look at all the Z classes which have been created in that particular instance, and then we review them based on this model where we have 4 options. So either we move the custom code to the new Work Manager code, which is ideal, or we move the new application code to the old classes if they're heavily customized. And similarly, there are 2 levels of add-on. One is the framework, and another is the application. So there are some framework level features, for example, enhanced error handling through inbound transaction queue, which was introduced recently. So we need to look at those features and say how useful they are for your environment, even if we need to embed them as part of the upgrade. And obviously there's always an option of keeping it as it is. So this is just showing a framework how we approach upgrade, especially in the sophisticated scenarios where you have customized the backend in there. And we've got similar frameworks for the middleware and the front end as well. So if we bring it all down into sort of 4 high-level options, then we can say at the bottom left with the lowest complexity, you can do the platform upgrade only. Now that may be sufficient if you have a very heavily customized application and you don't really need application level support from SAP, and you have other third-party providers who are providing the application support, but not ideal, obviously, if you want to go all the way to the right, but maybe an entry point. And then you can look at the device upgrade, and then you can go to the pure standard applications. You can shed off your customizations and just move to a standard application. And the last, which most customers would choose, is to make sure their enhancements are also brought together along with the upgrade. So they have all the customizations they did as it is in the newer version and running on the newer Work Manager application. So these are just some of the flavors in terms of complexity and the options you have when you do an upgrade. Now that concludes pretty much the third leg of our agenda, which was more around understanding the upgrade considerations and the various scenarios you have for an upgrade. Now one thing which we have as part of our agenda is the roadmap, to give you an understanding of what SAP are thinking and doing. And this is in a way tied into your own SAP ECC roadmap as well. So depending on when or why or whether you are actually moving to S4, these things will also determine what you do going forward. So for example, SAP has launched a new successor product for Work Manager called SAP Asset Manager. It was available last year, but only as like a minimum viable product, I would say. It's still way behind in terms of functionality as compared to Work Manager. but it is sort of quickly building up. And as you can see, the comparison between the two, Asset Manager only supports S/4HANA, and it only supports iOS, because this was developed as part of SAP's handshake with Apple, and it supports cloud-only deployments as of now. So it's not available on-premise, which may be not entirely like always positive, but always like good things about cloud is you can get the upgrades straight away without any maintenance required. But the things to consider while looking at cloud is the performance being one, and second is any security concerns you might have. So these are some of the factors you need to look at and compare, and then decide which way you want to go. But apart from that, there is a fundamental change in the architecture. So SAP is moving away from the agent-tree architecture, and there is a new architecture in place called Mobile Development Kit, which our consultants have trained in. So this is a new way of building, and also like both as a partner as well as SAP themselves, application which are metadata driven. And this is again like one of the 4 options you have in SAP mobile platform to build applications. One being you can build native applications, second you can build UI5 applications, third you can build application using MDK, and fourth is agent-tree still there to build application. So we can help you sort of understand the pros and cons of all these 4 approaches, and then make the right decision for you as an organization. So this is like a roadmap view. Now there were some concerns last year around SAP Work Manager going end of life 2020. Now SAP has corrected that. So what they say right now is that they will support Work Manager till 2025. And that is sort of aligned with the core ECC end of maintenance 2025. So those concerns are gone if you look at the roadmap. But at the same time, obviously, if you look at the investment is going more into the next generation tool. So they will keep on supporting and enhancing, but there is more resources allocated to the asset manager. So that is something to keep in mind as you make your decisions around your upgrade and new implementations. So you can access these roadmaps from your the URL, which is at the bottom of the slides. So you can see more detail about each of these features and more specific information around all of this. Some of the key ones to note here, I would say, is SAP's focus on the wildcard search and the single sign-on, the true single sign-on, I would say, and then support for IoT and predictive maintenance features. Whereas for Asset Manager, they will focus on looking at SAP Business Suite support going backwards, and then also GIS integration, crew and meter management, and some of the other features which are already there in Work Manager. And the key differentiator as per SAP is the user experience on Asset Manager, but it comes obviously as a native iOS application only at this stage. So yeah, so this is the broad differences, I would say, between the two suites, and you can align this with your own strategy for ECC. Now, how we can help, and obviously you may have your own framework partners, you can use this there as well, but we have developed some tools which help us review the performance, because no matter where we go, performance always comes up as one of the things which needs addressing, because of the whole offline thing and also the number of different technologies involved in Work Manager. So we offer, depending on the complexity of your environment, like a 5 or 10 days review of performance as a package, wherein we bring in our experience and expertise as well as the tools we have developed to review the performance and give you the guidance like how you can improve performance for your sinks in SAP. And then we also do like an upgrade assessment where we look at your specific requirements around upgrade, your constraints, if you have any, and then make recommendations in terms of the effort required, the best practice, and the comparison of the various options. So you can reach out to us if any of these sound interesting to you as a follow-on step. With that, I think we are actually 5-10 minutes ahead of schedule for Q&A. So I will first take up all the Q&As from the chat window, and then we will move on and unmute the lines for any question you have. Yeah, so we got one question which is like an update, which actually just delivers on the roadmap as we saw in here. So one of the attendees has mentioned that SAP has actually delivered SAP Business Suite support. Let me just clarify and understand it with the June release. Yeah, so what they are saying is SAP has, now this was only planned that Asset Manager will support S4 only and Business Suite will be coming. So what they're saying is with the June release of SAP Asset Manager, it will also support ECC. So that is good. So obviously they haven't yet updated the roadmap, but thanks for that information. So what that means is Asset Manager will also support ECC June onwards. That's the first question we had, and also a comment I would say rather. So I don't see any more questions in the chat box. There is one. So what is the major hurdle you face while upgrading? And I think the answer is pretty common, I would say. It's the number of customizations customers have made, and those customizations need careful consideration. So as we mentioned in our approach, so if you look at this approach, this sounds easy, but this takes a lot of effort to look at each class, to look at each customization which has been done, and then we have to assess it. So just the time it takes to go through all the customizations of the backend ABAP, and then making sure that that is aligned with the changes in the middleware, that is the Java code for Work Manager, and also the front-end agentry. So these are three different programming languages you can think of, which need to work together, and you can customize at any layer. And with that, I will unmute Murli as well and bring him in, like if he wants to add anything, like what are the main challenges we face while doing an upgrade.
Hello. Hi. As Navdeep mentioned, I think that the core challenge is like looking at the existing implementation and see how far it was customized, and bringing that customizations into the new upgrade is the key challenge. So we got to compare the things and ensure that leveraging the new standard product which comes from the Work Manager new version, at the same time not losing where it was invested on those customizations. So bring them carefully into the picture, and basically get rid of some of them where it has become a standard and much more improved way. Therefore, it would be future proof. That is so we have some generic principles we have set for to ensure that as things when we're trying to do an upgrade, if there is a standard for a customization, we try to leverage that thing. So on that basis, yeah, we basically that's the key challenge, and that is the bit of the thing in the typical upgrade, the challenges.
Yeah, thanks for that, Murli.